Okay, so I'm going to talk about Git. Git is a very important tool in software development or in almost every development that involves like having all the versions sync. I'm Jose Figueroa. I'm master student from Embedded Wireless Systems, and I have almost 4 years of experience in embedded programming. So saying that, please check this QR. It will ask you to fill out 3 questions and, well, 3 answers for 1 question. The question would be, what do you know about Git? This is for me to understand where we are at right now. So please do that. Like right now, your question will be presented in here. So please fill it up using the QR that is right there. So the first, okay, nothing. Have you heard of anything about, yeah, for collaboration? It is really good at it. What else? What else have you heard about Git? GitHub is really important. Repositories, okay. Collaboration again, versioning system, okay. That's good. Okay. So going back to the presentation. Okay, so I'm going to talk different topics. It's versioning control. What is Git, like specifically Git, not to be confused with GitHub. There are 2 separate things. I'm going to give a brief demo about me using the console or how Git work. Then more tools that can be used for Git. In there, I will ask you guys to download some tool for your computer so it makes the use of Git a bit easier. Then a workshop, so we can all interact using Git. And the last 2 things are our versioning control strategies, like how to structure the Git commits and Git everything, so you can guys handle your projects. And finally, commit strategies. I will talk with that later. So the first thing is versioning control. Versioning control, there are 3 main things. Our Subversion is popular but old subversioning machine that will allow you to store like the different versions of one project. It's a centralized model, meaning that everyone, if they want to use them, they have to access the server and work in there. While other tools like Git or Mercurial are distributed models, meaning that each person that is collaborating in the work, it has their own version of the repository locally installed. So with this, they are able to manage program files and documents. So that's the main difference between these 2 models. Let me get rid of this thing. It's distracting. Yep. So now, what is Git? Git is a version control system. I have said before. It's allow us to move into different versions of the same code. So for example, if I have the version 0 of my code and I made some changes and I want to save these changes, and let's say that these changes do not work, like I break something, I can just go back to the previous version and work again from there, right? To see what's the difference, to start making a way of programming your. It has several advantages. It has a way of organizing your code better. It allows you to control new release versions. For example, when I was working, the client only see the final version, right? But we have a development path that we have to follow. So whenever we hit 2 or 3 features, we can say that it's a release version. So we deploy or release this specific version of the code so it can be delivered to the client. I will talk with this more clearly a bit later. And it enables a lot of team collaboration. So the first steps is the demo that I'm going to be doing. It will consist on these commands from Git. Git it starts with git init that will create a folder with all the Git document that is needed for starting the subversions. Git status that will allow us to get like all the information. Git status will allow us to get all the information about the changes that have been done. Then Git add will allow us to add our changes. We'll see it more clearly now that I began this demo. But add will allow us to put those changes that we have made in one status so they can later be commit and then previously keep and then create a new instance of that code. Then git log will allow us to check everything, git like all the log that have been committed, like all the versions that have been committed in the GitHub, in the Git, sorry. And then checkout will allow us to change between commits. So before we start, let me share really quick this thing. To be explained a little bit more clear. So how it's going to work is if we have a code and we've been working with it, and let's say that this version have an extra line, right? So when we said we are going to be doing git status, it will tell us that this specific file will have this change over here, right? So how Git works is it's going to be having different versions of the code. Let's say version 0, version 1, and let's say this version right now is version 2 of the same code. So right now it's not added right now, it's just saved in the file, but we want it to be saved inside the Git. So what we are going to do is to execute git add. So it will tell the Git that something is going to be added. And then when we commit it, it will be added into the tree structure of Git. So it will create like a new node for version. And then if we want to see all these changes in the console, we can use git log. So it can say like, this commit was done at this time, at this moment, and with this name. And so if we want to change between these versions, we can use git checkout. So we can jump from one to another. Okay, so I'm going to be doing this demo. Let me just go back to my computer. Okay, so by the way, Git is not only for code, it can be used by any program. So the first thing that I'm going to do is create I'm going to open the CMD in this folder that you can see as empty. I'm going to enable show hidden items so we can see when the Git folder is created. So I'm going to put git init. And as you can see, the Git folder is created. So now I'm going to create a new PowerPoint presentation so you can see the changes that are going to be. And I'm really I'm a fan of Formula One, so I'm going to be doing a Formula One presentation right now. So if I put Git status, we can see that there's on track files, this being the Formula One PPT, and there's no commits yet. So what I'm going to do right now is create a commit for this. First, I have to add the changes. So they have been done. Now I'm going to commit this new change. And I'm going to put, I have a commit is composed of the adding files plus a comment. This comment will be useful for everyone that is looking at your GitHub to know what changes have been done. So this one is going to be just the initial commit for the PPT, right? So we right now have the first commit done. So now what I'm going to do is open the PPT file. I'm just going to create F1 teams, right? So with this done, I'm going to save, and I'm going again to put git status to see that there have been modifications on this file, right? You can do this for multiple files as well, but for now, I'm going to keep just with the PPT file. So let's say that now I'm going to be pushing this new change that is only the first slide. So it's going to be add f1.pptx. Yep. So the changes that have been done for this presentation from this PPT will be added to the commit, and then I'm going to commit it again. And then it's going to be fetch f1 first slide, right? So with that, if I hit git log, we will have to see like the two commits that I have done, the initial commit and the first slide. So, okay, let's create like the first team now. So I'm going to this, I saved some images, or let's say here is going to be Red Bull. So just for a quick thing, this is the Red Bull team. And I believe I have the new car. Yep. So for example, that will be our second commit, right? So as we can see, if I put git status, there's again the changes that I have made just now. So I'm going to add the difference between using git add f1 is that it will only add the things that have been changed in this file. But if you have multiple files and you want to add everything, you can just use dot and it will add everything that has changes. But just be careful with that. If there are changes that you don't want to be committed in this specific commit, just be warned about it. And now I'm going to use git commit and let's say bit one Red Bull team added. So once again, we have submitted. I'm going to do one more change before executing the next change. Well, before changing between comics, so you can see how this is useful. Well, for now, let's say Mercedes, for example. Oops. So I'm going back to images. I have saved some. Right. So if I do again the git status, I will see the changes. Oh yeah. Right. I always close the PPT file because the files from Microsoft always create like a temporal instance, a temporal file for your modification. So whenever you close it, you will see the real changes that is from this file, not this one. So now I'm going to put git add, and then I'm going to commit again the changes. Going to be feature F1, Mercedes team. And now I'm going to go into git log, and those are the 4 changes that we have made so far. It's the initial commit where we just create a presentation, then the first slide, Red Bull team, Mercedes team. So if let's say I wanted to start again the first slide, just for you guys to see, like here is the first slide, Red Bull and Mercedes. So let's say I commit, I don't know, I want to go back into whenever I only had Red Bull. So for that, I'm just going to use git checkout, and I'm going to be using, for example, I want to go into whenever I did this change. So git checkout and the code for this. I believe, I'm not sure about this, but you can use only the first digits of the commit. But just to be sure, I'm going to be using everything. And yeah, now it is changed. So if I open it again, I only have these 2, right? So this is the advantage of using Git, that you can move like in your previous or future commits, whatever your place, you can go backwards or forwards, or even in different development areas. We will see that a bit further. Okay, so the presentation again. Again, we have these version control tools. The main version control tools are Git and Mercurial. I only have used Git. That is the one that I have shown you. But I think Mercurial is really good, mostly in iOS. I believe it's used there, but Git is used everywhere else. This is the main subversions things, but on the online server, you can also use GitHub, Bitbucket, and GitLab. These 3 over here are free for use. Bitbucket is more for industry. I've using while I was working, we usually use Bitbucket, but it has a lot of limitations because you have to pay for them to be unlocked. But GitHub is really good at showing like everything really clear. It has a lot of information and it's free to use mostly, unless you have like private repositories. But if you use public repositories, it almost allows you everything. You can also use private repositories with GitHub, but it has some block. Give me a second. Yeah, it has some block features if you try to use everything in a private repository. So what these 3 do, GitHub, Bitbucket, and GitLab, it's an online version of Git. Like it has the version, all the infrastructure for Git, it has it just online. So what we are going to be doing next is create like our own clone for Git and Mercurial that is going to be based in a GitHub. So before doing that, there are these 4 things that are on the right: Git, source tree, Git Kraken, and desktop GitHub are some GUIs that will allow you to, instead of using these commands in the command prompt, you can, for example, use source tree. I think it's the best of these 4. I really like how it presents like all the information of your changes and all that. So let's say I have this project over here, and it allows you to see like all the comments that are here, who was the one that pushed everything, or this particular commit. It allows you a more visual structure of your project. So if you have a laptop at hand, please download this so we can do the workshop. You can go to just source tree. It's a tool for Atlassian. Atlassian is really is used a lot in the industry of in general. When if you are going to be programming, for sure you're going to be using Jira or Confluence or something like that, and all that or Bitbucket are part of Atlassian tools. So by the way, any comments so far? Okay, let me check. Please download this tool. A second. Please download and install that tool. In the meanwhile, I'm going to share again this other window. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, now you should be seeing this again. Okay, so while it is download, shouldn't take too much time. Give me a second. So what we're going to do next after it gets downloaded is use these this set of commands next. Yeah, we are going to be using these commands. So first we are going to create a repository in GitHub. I'm going to do that so you guys can see. So after I create that repository, we are going to clone it. What clones mean is if I have an online server like GitHub over here, and in here I have like my repository with all the changes that have been made in that project or code. What we are going to do with clone is, let's say that there's a person 1 over here and a person 2 over here who wants to have that same code in their laptops to make some development. So with clone, they will have the same instance as GitHub, but in their local laptops or computers, right? So they will have this over here. Okay, so that will be the first thing that we're going to be doing. Then git push will allow us, let's say that the person 1 has made a new change and want to make that modification available for everyone. So what we are going to do is push it into the server, let's say GitHub. So the change is going to be added into the server, so everyone can pull it back. So let's say that a push has been done. So for the person to be able to see this change, you have to fetch it. So with fetch, you will set to the Git folder that something has changed in the server, and it will create an instance saying that, okay, in the server right now there are this amount of commits, right? So for you to have it placed in your actual development branch, you have then to pull it. With pull, you will, instead of having just marked, oh, sorry, I don't know what happened here, but if with pull, you will actually get the changes to your local repository, so you can be able to modify everything and get all the changes that have been done by another person. So that's that, this we are going to be using this tree, and later on we're going to be using these three. This tree over here is, let's say that someone is making a development. Let's say that there are some features that you have that two different persons have to make. Like one person have to be doing, I know, like a for loop for something, and another person have to be doing print some printfs or get information for console, right? So with this branch, you can say, okay, some person is going to be working specifically for developing a for loop, and another person is going to be doing a development specifically for print. And the main repository or the main branch will be still in the middle in here. So after someone have end up his development, let's say the for loop person have ended his development, he can merge his changes, meaning that he will put his changing or add them into the main development branch. So after that, it will create like a new commit with the both branches features or code features. Okay, so that's what we are going to be doing. So please download the, let me share again my screen. Please download the source tree. So once it's downloaded, you can open it, and it will just tell you that it's just an installer. So yeah, I already have it downloaded. So yeah, you just have to click next. At some point, it will ask you if you want to use Git or Mercurial. Just choose Git. What else is important for you guys to know? I believe that at some point it will ask you if you want to place Git in your variables, meaning it will also download Git. So it will ask you if you want to have your Git put in here. So with this being here, you can use Git in the console as I've been doing. So in the meanwhile, I'm going to GitHub. I'm going to create a new repository, going to be Git demo. So this will create a file in the server for us to download it. So let's say Git demo for university year students. I'm going to leave it as public so we are all be able to see it. I'm going to add a README. A README is just like a TXT file for documentation purposes usually. And the license, you can read this online. It's just how do you want your code or repository to be used, right? The most common one is MIT license. It's a free version license that allows everyone to use your code, but I think modification must be approved by you. Yeah, so give it a look there. So, oh yeah, there's also git ignore. Git ignore is a file that allows you to just avoid submitting some files. For example, there are some configuration files of some, let's say that you have some keys for blockchain or something that you do not want to be shared in this repository. You can just ignore those files. So whenever you make changes and push things or commit things, it just don't get committed with everything else. So that the git ignore file. So I'm not going to put it right now, but I'm going to create it like this. So right now we have this, right? Only the git demo and which is the README. So I'm going to share this two in the chat. So now if I am here and I go to code, there's a clone tab over here into local. So these are the ways for you to download download the code into your local machine. There are 3 ways of doing it: is HTTPS, SSH, and GitHub CLI. I prefer using HTTPS. It's simpler, at least at first. SSH will create, you have to create a public key so everyone who has that public key is able to download it. It's much simpler with HTTPS, at least for now. So I'm going to be using this tool, source tree, and I'm going to be using as well this command prompt. So I will be doing as 2 persons, as if I were 2 persons at the same time. So in here, I'm going to create the version of the CMD. So it's git clone. I'm going to clone it from here. So as you can see, it just download the repository with the README file. And then on the other side, here I'm also going to clone, going to put the path, the HTTPS file that I just copied, and I'm just going to select where do I want it to be. So I want it to be saved in my demo in here. So I'm going to choose that folder and hit clone. So right now we just have 1 commit, that is the initial commit that was done by GitHub when we created the repository. So let me open another so you can guys see what is happening like at all times. And I'm going to open Visual Studio Code. File folder. Yeah, so right now here I have README 1 and README 2. So this one over here is in P2 and this one over here is in P1. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to modify this one over here. So it's going to be what to do. Insert name. So I just create this change. So the change was done in this one. And as you can see, it will say that I have 1 commit pending, right? And this is the file that has been changed right now. So if I go to commit, it will say, hey, these lines over here have been added in your file. This over here is what you have changes. It's, remember when we were using the add command is the same as just adding it here to here. So these are the stage files that are ready to be committed. So now I can put down here the message that I want to have for the commit. So I'm going to put feature README additional instructions. Right, so I'm going to commit it. After commit, you will see that here is a push. This push will, we committed it, but we committed it in our local computer. So if we want it to be shown in the server in GitHub, we will have to push it. So as you see right now, because it's only committed, is it haven't shown, it is not shown in here. So after I push it, yeah, it is pushed because it was submitted to the server. I will be able to see that change online. So what to do, insert name, right? So let's say that now the person B, this readme over here, want to get those changes that have been made. So I'm going to be doing this in console. So first, there's nothing changed, right? So I have to fetch, meaning that I have to check if there's any change in online, and it's not working. Not, oh yeah, sorry. When I create the clone, it create a new folder. So I have to go into that folder because in this folder over here is the Git file that will allow me to do everything. So for this, I have to move into Git demo, and in here I can do the fetch. And it says that there have been some change in this develop branch. Origin develop, it's referred to the one that is in GitHub right now, and develop is the local one. So if I want to see these changes in here, I have now to do the git pull. So with git pull, it just download, let's say, or pull the changes into my current file, right? So now I'm going to do the other way around. I'm going to put insert masters, and I'm going to be uploading it from here. That's, you can see, well, there's change in the readme. So it's going to be git add column. Then I'm going to put git commit and to do new changes have been actually insert masters in the to-do list, right? So now I can do the git push, and it will be set online as well. So the person two, let's say this person over here, has pushed its changes into GitHub. So we might be able, we will be able to see it here as well, the insert masters, right? So now I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do the fetch and everything, but for this part, as you can see, there's nothing shown yet, that there's no changes for this one. So I have to do again the fetch. So I get everything that has been changed online. And as you can see, I'm standing right now in this branch that is called develop, but there's new changes over here, right? In the next commit. So we are standing right now for this white dot is, but the latest changes are in here. So I'm going to pull the changes right now. And now we are standing at the same place, right? As you can see, everything stays the same. Okay. Any questions so far? Anyone? Hey. Nope. Okay. Going to keep going then. So now, what happens if someone make a change to one thing and another person does the same thing at the same time, and both do push without fetching and pulling? So that's what I'm going to be doing right now. So let's say that someone wants to insert family name in here, and someone wants to insert age. Actually, instead of family name, let's say undergrad, right? So person one has these changes over here, and person two has these other changes over here, right? So if I go here, I will see that there are some changes, as well as if I go here, there are some changes. So first I'm going to do the git add, and we'll add these changes, git and sorry. Okay, sorry about that. So I will create a commit. And let's say this person wants to do insert undergrad, right? So I'm going to push it again. And it was pushed correctly. So now from this side, let's say I have these changes over here. I will add them, and I again going to put feature into the get. I believe this one was H. Yeah, get H. So I'm going to commit it. And if I try to push it, it says that I'm missing someone. There's some changes and it was rejected, right? Because we have not contemplated the changes that have been done by person one. So what I have to do is check if something has changed, and indeed it has. So I have to pull it to my changes and see if there's any issue with those changes. Apparently there's not. And as you can see, I've been working in this line over here, but somebody was working in another line of work, right? But right now we are at the same point in here. So I'm going to push these changes. And now we are at the same point, right? Because I have gotten the changes from one person and merge it into my code, right? That is this one over here. So now, again, if I go in here, git commit, say, sorry, git fetch, and then git pull, I will again be able to get all these. There's some occasions where you may have a conflicts. Those conflicts can be are really easy to find in Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code highlights the changes or those conflicts that are, and usually add something like this. Will highlight like the incoming change versus the change that you are trying to do. So with those highlight areas, you can make decisions on what to leave, on what to change. Let's see if I can get one of those. So let's say I'm going to change this one here. So no. Previous experience. And let's say that I want to do the same but for this in this side. Let's see if that triggers a conflict. So again, I'm going to be doing here the git push, sorry, git add, git commit, to-do list elements, right? So I'm going to git push it. And again, in here, I'm going to fetch it. See that there are some changes. here I just previous experience. So let's commit it, try and push it. Yeah, it will not allow me because I have something to pull. So let's pull it. Oh yeah, there it is. So we have some merge conflicts. As you can see, in Visual Studio Code, it told me that, hey, your current changes are these ones over here, and the incoming changes are somewhere around here, right? So with this information, you can do changes. So for example, the previous experience is already here. So I can say, okay, I'm going, and also the undergrad is already here, right? So I can say, okay, I can get rid of these two, right? So let's say that I'm good with the incoming and it will keep it as it is. So by knowing that, I can save the file, go into commit and see here is the conflicts. This is the conflicts as they came, and this is the changes that I have done right now to the file, that I've just delete these two lines over here and leave these two. So I'm going to put them. And as you see, there's already a message saying what are the conflicts and where. So with that information, I just can commit and push everything. So as you see, this is what happened right now. Something did that change over here. Another person did that change over here, and we solve it in here. So how can we avoid these things? We can avoid them by branching. Branching will create a line specifically for one development. And for example, what I want you guys to do right now is just go into branch. You're going to write student dash your name or your first name. You're going to create the branch. And as you can see, there's a student who said it creates a new branch over here called student and my name. So what I'm going to be doing right now is uh, I'm going to create here a third point saying Jose. I'm just going to put I'm a mechatronics engineer and I'm studying EWS, right? So with those changes, I can go in here with a commit. And let's say I'm adding a new feature that is called, I know, Jose. And let's say info about Jose. I can commit it, push it as well. Now, because this is a new branch, this branch first has to be pushed. So it can be shown by the server. If not, this commit can be worked entirely in your local computer, but make sure to just push it here. If you select develop as well, it will push this change that we just did to both. So by this, we will push it so everyone can see this. So if I go in here, there is no changes in develop because we didn't do that change in here, but there will be a new branch saying that, hey, someone is working in your project, but in this new branch, right? So let's say now that in this order, I'm going to put Jorge, my second name, is going to want also to do some changes. So he's going to say that I studied a minor in applied robotics. And right now I study as well EWS, let's say. So with that information, I can do again the git add git commit new branch. Okay. And I'm going to do git push. Oh, wait. Sorry. From in here, what I should have done first is branch, create a new branch. It's going to be as well student, as in here, student dash my name. And sorry, just git branch student. Yeah, without the B. So right now we are in here. So if I go into git status, it would say that right now I'm on branch develop. So what I have to do after I create that branch is move into this branch over here, the new branch, right? The student Jorge. So I have to go into git checkout. Now it's a branch, so I have to specify, and it's going to be student Jorge. And something's wrong over there. Already. Oh yeah. So it's not with the B. Yeah, there it goes. So right now, if I go to git status, I'm standing at the student Jorge branch. Now, I made these changes over here. So let me see if it fetch anything. Yes. Okay. Yeah, if you see these remotes over here, allow you to see everything that is online and not downloaded. Like whenever you do fetch, it just syncs this part over here with the global repository or with the server. So now finally, if I do git, the changes have been done, so I can do I think git push because everything is already there. Nope. Yeah. So the difference when pushing the first time in a branch is this one over here, because the branch is not yet in the in the global repository or in the server. I have to create it, and to create it, I have to do the set upstream origin. Origin means server, in this case GitHub, and in there I will create this studying Jorge branch. So with that, I can just choose it, and it says new branch created, student Jorge, student Jorge. So if I do a fetch again in here, I can see that a new student branch was created in here, right? So in this way, everyone can be working simultaneously in different branch without affecting one another, right? So yeah, let me refresh this one over here. And if I go in here, here are the two branches. Student dash help you to create new folders as this one. So you can create, I usually use that whenever it comes to features. So for example, in a project that I have last term, I do like feature, game engine, levels, testing inside this branch over here, right? Into this folder over here. So with that in mind, I want you guys, the repository is free for everyone. So I want you guys to try and clone it, and then you will create a branch. And from that branch, you will add something, whatever you want. Like, for example, I just add Jorge, apply robotics, and my master that I'm studying right now. So for you guys to practice, if you have any questions, you can always send me an email or whatever. And finally, the last part of the presentation is some recommendations that I usually do whenever I'm programming and using Git. So there are some branch strategies for you to actually align with your teammates and have an equal view of how are you going to manage branches, commits, and everything. So the first part is the branching strategy. In the one that I use, the one that I use where I was working is this one over here. So master are the release versions for the client. Hotfix are if you release some version to the client and they because usually the release version are massive, so tons of people are working in that. So there might be occasions where they found a bug that you did not spot. So if that happens, if that bug is really critical, you can create a hotfix to just like put all your efforts into that into that bug, fix it, and just create a new version, right? The 0.2 version, let's say. Then the release one, well, then there's another important branch called develop. This develop will be the main branch for all the developers to do the merge from all the features that they create. So for example, let's say that a person is developing in a new feature that will allows Wi-Fi to your project, right? So in this one over here is the start commit, right? So this is the Wi-Fi feature right now. So people is going to be working right now in these ones over here, and whenever it's finished, it will be merged together like the current code with your Wi-Fi code. And if the feature is, it has like too much efforts, let's say that it's a new release, it has changed a lot. So it's counted as a new version of the overall code for the customers. You can push it into the release version. The release version is usually where you are going to be doing testing of the code, and in my case as an embedded engineer, for the hardware as well before it is released to the customer. So whenever this testing is done, you can set it to the customer. And because it was a big change, you change the first number. Remember that every time that you do, for example, a hotfix, it has to be reflected in the development branch. Also, in here, let's say that another person is working in another feature, and there was a merge into development, like in here. It's always useful to be in sync with the development branch, so you have the latest changes at whenever your time to merge your code into the development branch, you don't have any conflicts later on. So I recommend you a lot to see all these changes over here, and just put all the team in the same page on how are you guys going to manage everything. So this is one part. There are multiple branch strategies. For example, if you are only one person, you can only use a main branch and a development branch, like is this one over here. This one over here will allow you just to, whenever you are development, you can create a branch for the feature, and it's going to be like really fast branch, right? That you will finish working on it, and then you will merge it back into the development branch. And again, you're going to be working on another feature and back into the development branch. And let's say if this is a project for an assessment, right? Whenever you're done with your assessment, you can just put it in the main branch. So you can only have like 2 dots. Another popular way of doing this is called truck method. It's this one over here. This truck method is just having a single development branch, that is this one over here. You have the features that this is one feature, this is another feature, and this is another feature. And the release versions are pulled out from the development branch, and it is shown here. I don't really like this type of program of managing the branch strategies. It causes much chaos at the time of when you have fixed bugs over here. And there have been changes in code over here. You can have conflicts. So you are working twice, like one for your versions that have been released and another one for your development branch. So it doesn't help a lot in my perspective. And finally, I recommend if you guys are working in teams, you can try also this section over here. So each teammate is working in different features, that is these branches over here. So let's say the team member one is working on feature one and it finished after 2 commits, right? So it is pushed into the development. Well, instead of development, it's going to be a merge branch, which means that whenever there's a change, you can manage all the merge things there. So if there's a conflict or anything, the teams can like do a code review and check all the changes. Well, not the change, but the conflicts, so they can all agree into a, a into a common change, right? So with that in mind, you can push it into the development branch and keep working on that. In this, if this development branch have some bug fixes, you can just create a branch for that bug fix and just get it back. So the idea of this is for people in the project be working on one feature at a time, and whenever that feature is finished, they can start the next feature, right? For example, this is person one working on feature one, it finishes it does all the merge things over here, and then it can start working on the feature four, right? So it will allow you to have a little bit more of speed when developing in new features. And lastly, as you've seen, I've been using fit whenever I'm trying to commit. It's really good for you to have a really commit strategy, so everyone that sees your code knows what changes have been made before getting to your code, right? So for this, there are 5 types. Is feature, which is whenever you make an important change. Chore is whenever you made like a mistake and you have to commit again. For example, it has happened to me that I forget to put a comment, or I misspell something, or I put a 0 instead of a macro or a variable over there. So I can just put core, core, and that means that there's a minor change, like just a typo or a comment or something. Then fix is if it was something that was I don't know, make it some other part of the code malfunctioning, you can say like fix. Test is whenever you're going to be testing some specific feature. Revert, if you, it's rare that I've seen rarely that someone use revert, but is if you do something or commit something wrong, you can do a revert and you just have to log it like I revert here because of these reasons. So this is the first part. It's called fit. It's this part over here whenever you commit. So it will be like this, let's say fit. Then scope, it should be a noun, and it's kebab case. Kebab case is just another way of saying do not use spaces. So for example, if I have a picture that is called kebab case, I cannot do this. I cannot leave this space over here. I have to put either at the, this thing or this thing. I don't remember the names of these right now, but with those and using a noun. Then is the subject. The subject has to be less than 40 characters, and it will have to follow this line. If apply this commit will, and this is what you're going to write. So if apply this commit will change the behavior of the motor, for example, if this is a robotics project, for example, right? Then the body doesn't usually work, but let's say if you want to expand what you're saying, that there's something important that you included, for example, a new library, you can say motor library included in motor.h and .c, for example, right? And finally, this part over here doesn't have to be more than 72 characters. The commits are usually really small, just to give a really brief of what have happened in this part of code. And finally, this over here is just an exclamation mark. Sorry, yeah, for indicating if something critical have changed. If not, or if it's a change that is going to cause something to fail, you can put it in, instead of putting the subject, you can put breaking changes. That meaning just be careful with this, don't pull it right now, it might cause something. And finally, if you guys can, because I'm already past the time, go into this word chart again, and it's going to be as in the beginning, just a brief of words to let me know what do you know, what do you understand about Git, so I can have a little bit of feedback. So please, if you can, help me with that. Okay, collaboration, good. I believe that's Git and version control. Okay. Okay, well, I will send the recording will be available, I believe, in Wiki. So if you have any questions, you can always email me. Thanks, everyone.